In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Today we are going to work on pragmatics, chapter 10, as you see it here. Okay, it's pragmatics. So what is pragmatics, first of all? Pragmatics is something similar to the previous chapter, which was semantics. Both semantics and pragmatics work with the meaning, okay? So this is chapter 10, semantics, and chapter 10. Both will work with the world of meaning. What is the difference between that chapter and this chapter? In chapter 9, we talked about semantics, the dictionary meaning, the formal meaning, the meanings of words, etc., and sentences. Meanings of words and sentences. But in this chapter, we want to say that there are other types of meaning, which is again important, especially in language teaching, okay? Which is pragmatics. Pragmatics is in fact, again, the study of meaning, but the meaning in context or the speaker meaning, okay? So you have to be very careful about this concept of meaning. Well, in order for you to understand, you have to look at the first example, which appears on page 150, okay? On page 50, there's one example as heated attendant parking. Suppose you are in fact driving a car in the downtown area, okay, downtown area of a big city, okay, like London, like Tehran, like let's say Baghdad, etc. Okay, so you want to park a car, but you don't know where to park your car. Suddenly you see that there's a sign there, heated attendant parking, heated attendant parking. You say, good, I'm gonna go and park my car there. Why? Because it is written heated attendant parking. When you look at the meaning of the words like heated and attendant and parking, you cannot easily understand what it means. But in fact, heated attendant parking means something like this, that there's a special place for cars to park, and there are people, attendants there who are careful of your car. And because of that, it is because they are careful, they say it is heated parking, okay? Because they have got people, they say attendant parking. But when you look at the word heat and heated, it doesn't mean something like a good place to park your car, okay? In this place, heated means, for example, that somebody is in charge of taking care of your car. So if you actually go to the last line, before the last lines, you see that it is written something like this, but 2 lines to the bottom. But we prefer to think that we can park a car here in a heated area, in an area which is under, in fact, careful attention, okay, for thieves, okay, not to come and take things from your car, with an attendant, a person looking after it, okay? But how come you understand it? You understand it because of the context, okay? Because of the context. I will give you a better example for the next page. The next page is something like this. If you actually go to page 151, you see something like this. You go to a very big supermarket, not a big supermarket, a department store, a very big, in fact, a store with a طابق أول, طابق ثاني, etc., etc. Okay, so those kinds of stores are said to be, in fact, a department store. Department store are bigger stores, bigger than the supermarket. Okay, sometimes 4, 5, 6 stories, 5, 6 stories. طابق. Okay, طابق. Now you see something like this: baby and toddler sale. Baby and toddler sale. What does it mean? What does it mean? You actually look and say, well, maybe here they are going to sell things for babies. Things for babies. Okay? For example, clothes, malabis, or other things. Okay? For babies. But the words do not say the same thing here. But the context says, the words say baby and toddler sale. Baby means, you know, the word baby, you know, and toddler. Toddler is the kind of baby who is about 1 year and a half, who cannot walk, and who can actually go on all his or her four. Okay? These babies are said to be toddler. So baby sale or toddler sale or baby and toddler sale doesn't mean that. In fact, it does mean that there is a place for babies, for, in fact, things related to the babies, like malabis. Okay? But it doesn't mean that the babies are sold there. Babies are not sold there. Actually, you know, nobody is going to, in fact, sell babies. How come you understand that this is the kind of meaning that you have? Okay? You understand it only through what is there. Have a look. Context. Okay? This is context. So, what does pragmatics say? Pragmatics says that there are 2 types of meanings. Type 1 is chapter 9, semantics, word meaning, dictionary meaning, sentence meaning. Context meaning is something else. This chapter talks about context meaning, speaker meaning. What you say, and what they understand from you. Okay? Here. From heated attendant parking, we understand that the speaker has used it in order for you to park your car without problems later on. Okay? You are not going to come back to your car and find out that your bag is not there. Your handbag is not there in your car. Or maybe you have got something more important like your cell phone or somebody else's, your wife's cell phone, your brother's cell phone, your husband's cell phone, and you find that it is not there. Okay? So heated attendant parking, actually using the context, means a kind of parking that is good for you to park your car there. Okay? Similarly, baby sale doesn't mean that there's a place for there's a place where the babies are sold. No, things related to the babies are sold there. Okay? So we say that the context is important in pragmatics. So if you want to define pragmatics, you say it is a speaker meaning. Speaker meaning, I'm repeating it once more. Okay? Invisible meaning. Speaker meaning, invisible meaning, the meaning in context, the meaning in context. Okay, now if you are going to work on the context in this page, you see that there are two types of context. Can you see it? Line 2 says physical context. Line 3 to the bottom says linguistic context. What is physical context? The physical context, for example, for this is a supermarket or a department store. For this example, figure 10.2. Or for this one is a downtown area where you can park your car. Okay? This is the physical context. The physical context of our, in fact, lecture, our muhadara, is something like what? Like what? An iftiradi lecture. And an iftiradi صف. Okay? So this is the physical context of our classroom. Okay? An offline classroom. Okay? Offline classroom. Okay? So everything is important. When you talk to your friend, in fact, the context is a kind of talking between you and your friend, okay? Between you and your husband, between you and your wife, between you and your brother, between you and your sister, okay? These are in fact the types of let's say meanings that we can have. Type 2 of the context is the linguistic context. The linguistic context is actually the words written before the context or after it, or the words said before or after it. So, for example, we say baby and toddler. Say, you see baby, there's with the word baby, and say and. There's toddler and there's tail. Because of these words together, we say that we mean something like this. Or heated attendant parking. Because heated is in fact before attendant and attendant is before parking, we have a linguistic context. Words, okay? Coming before. Sometimes your context is bigger. For example, a paragraph. So you look at one sentence or one utterance and the utterances before it, or an utterances after it, utterances before, utterances after. These are the linguistic context. Sometimes they call the second one as co-text. Linguistic context, also known as, you can see, co-text. Okay, so we are working with pragmatics and we are working with the context. The context is important. Going to the next page. Deixis. Well, what is deixis? You actually point to some, maybe there are words that in one language or all languages, there are words in all languages where you actually point to somebody. Examples are like this, the word this, that. Okay? When you say this, you point to somebody and say this guy, that guy. Okay? So you have to look in order to understand what you mean by these words, like this and that. Is it only the case that this and that are pointing words? No, there are other words. Actually, you go to line 2 of the page 152, you see that there are other pointing words. Here means somewhere near you. There, something far away from you. This, as I told you. That, again I told you. Now, and then, okay? These are pointing words. Well, for pointing words are like this, that you have to know who actually has said it. Who actually has said it. And where actually they mean. and what time they mean. These are pointing words. In isolation, they are meaningless. So tomorrow, what does it mean tomorrow? We don't know. We don't know what tomorrow means. We only know that it is now. If we say tomorrow, we have to know which point we are going to talk about. If I am saying tomorrow, I mean the day after just now. But suppose somebody says tomorrow a year ago. What does it mean? It means in that context, well, we have to know what time it was, and from that time, we are going to find what tomorrow means. Okay? These are pointing words. So there are some very common words, like one. There are very common words in our language that can't be interpreted at all. We cannot understand the meanings if we don't know the context. These are pointing words. Pointing words. If you don't know the context, where and how and when and with the time, we don't know the meaning. So let's call them deictic expressions. Deictic expressions, you see, the phonetics is there. Deictic expressions. Okay? And they mean something like this, pointing words like this. Table 10 talks about the 3 types of pointing words in English. Okay? And we have got the same thing in Arabic, in Farsi, in all other languages around the world. Table 10.1, deictic expressions. Well, there are 3 types: person deixis, spatial deixis, and temporal deixis. What is person deixis? Well, it refers to people, okay, and they are pointing. Like what? Me, us, ours, this girl, okay? Or him, them, that woman, him, them, then, that woman, those idiots. What's the difference? Close to the speaker, not close to the speaker, okay? So here you can have line 2, here, and here you can have the word there, okay? So close to the speaker and not close to the speaker. Well, this is type 1. Spatial deixis, the word, what is the meaning of spatial? Spatial is the adjective form of space, S-P-A-C-E, space, okay? The adjective form is spatial, okay? What does it mean? Spatial means place. Spatial means place, or it is the adjective form of space, S-P-A-C-E. Well, so there are 2 types of place deixis. Here, this bed, behind me, not close to the speaker. There, those hills, over yonder, means over there. It means over there. Okay? The 3rd type is temporal deixis. Temporal means time deixis. Temporal is the adjective form of T-I-M-E, time. Time, the adjective form is temporal, okay? Time deixis, okay? Like what? Now, today, this morning, or not close to the speaker, then, yesterday, last week, next year, okay? So these are, in fact, as you see, okay, the pointing words. I'm actually looking for my to see my computer to see what I can talk about it. Yes. So if there's something like 2 lines to the bottom, okay. So there's something like free beer tomorrow. What does it mean? 2 lines to the bottom. If you want to have something like drink, let's say free drink tomorrow, because we are Muslims, okay? Free drink tomorrow. What does it mean? What does it mean? If you actually come tomorrow, they will give you a free drink, a Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola, okay? Or 7-Up, okay? Now, but what about this kind of thing? Free beer tomorrow. Each time you go to your friend and your friend says something like this, free beer tomorrow. It's not today, okay? Why? Why this, in fact, thing here appears to be funny? Why? Because of the pointing word tomorrow. Tomorrow is a pointing word here. If you actually come today and say, so you give me a free drink today. Say, no, it is written tomorrow. You go back home and come back tomorrow and say, well, yesterday you said that I want you will give me a drink. This is tomorrow. You say, no, free beer tomorrow. You have to come the day after, and this continues, and it means that there's no, in fact, drink for you. Okay. Well, so far so good. We are talking about pragmatics, and we said that it is in fact a kind of invisible meaning by the participants, by the in fact speakers, and in this a context is important. And we said that there are two types of contexts. Okay, linguistic and physical context. Linguistic context also now is known as co-text. Okay, now we have pointing words or deictic expressions or deixis. Okay, there are three types of deixis: person deixis, spatial deixis, and temporal deixis. Now let us go to, in fact, the next part, reference. Well, do you think that reference is important in pragmatics? We say yes. The reference is so important in pragmatics. Okay? Reference is so important in pragmatics. Okay? Why? Look at these words. Okay? Chomsky. Noam Chomsky. Line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Noam Chomsky, the linguist. Okay? The American linguist. Jennifer. Okay? Jennifer. What does it mean? It's the name of a person. Alweskas is again another. Okay? So, what does reference first of all mean? And we are going to talk about, in fact, the pragmatic reference later on. When we say somebody like Chomsky, actually, in the next sentence, we can use the word he or she or it for it. Of course, for Chomsky, you use he. Okay? Let's say for Jennifer, you use she. I suppose that Jennifer is the name of a girl and Weskus is the name of something, okay? So, well, so this is the reference, and these words are in fact the pronouns referring to these guys, okay? But sometimes in pragmatics, or many times in pragmatics, we talk about, in fact, we talk about reference. Let us see how we actually use the word here. Let's come back here, okay? Let's see. Suppose you say the next paragraph, line 2. We can also refer to things when we are not sure what to call them. Like say, the blue thing. Okay? When you say the blue thing, suppose they have got something on the board or something in your car or something in your bag or something in your suitcase. Okay? And that thing is blue. And you want that kind of thing. Okay? That kind of thing. So the context is important here. Without the context, we do not know what you mean by blue thing. Okay? The same holds true for icky stuff. Icky stuff. Okay? You have to know. Or a better example is line 4. Line 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mr. Kawasaki. Mr. Kawasaki. What is a Mr. Kawasaki? Let's see. Just wait. Suppose that you have got a very good kind of motorcycle, or a neighbor of you has got a good motorcycle, and he always drives this motorcycle. Okay? Everybody in the neighborhood knows this guy, and they don't know the name of this person. They don't know the name of this person because he actually uses a kind of motorcycle called Kawasaki. Kawasaki is marka musajjala. Okay? It's the name of a special kind of motorcycle made in Japan. Okay? Made in Japan. Okay? So you call this person as Mr. Kawasaki. Why? Because this person rides a motorcycle with the brand name Kawasaki. So you are using the context, okay, to refer to this person. You are using the context to refer to this person as Mr. Kawasaki. But the name of this person is not something like this. He has got his Ismul Aila, and he has got something like Ismul Thalathi. Okay? But you call this guy as Mr. Kawasaki. Why? Because of the context. Why? Because in referring or reference, we actually pay attention to pragmatics. What is pragmatics? Pragmatics actually takes care of context, and context is important. So this is the case. Well, let us go to, in fact, continue with this. So inference is the result of these types of things. Okay? Suppose line 1 says Mr. Kawasaki is an example of inference. Okay? Other examples. Suppose you are sitting in a restaurant waiting for your food to be in fact served. Okay? And there are waiters coming and serving you. Okay? You want something, another person needs something else, and somebody else is going to eat something else. They are talking to each other and say something like this. Where's the spinach salad sitting? Where is the spinach salad sitting? One waiter says it to somebody else, to another waiter. Okay? And suppose that the answer is something like this. He is sitting by the door. Okay? So you are referring, or the waiter is referring to one person as a spinach salad, a special type of salad. And another waiter calls that person as he's sitting by the door, again referring to that person. Okay? What happens here? You refer to somebody as Mr. Kawasaki, the brand name. Or you refer to somebody as spinach salad. Okay? Something, not somebody. And the answer is something, again, like something. Like he is sitting by the door. Now the answer is actually he, actually using the word he. Referring to the spinach salad? No, referring to the person. So these are inferences that you make. You understand that by spinach salad, you mean somebody. And by reference, you mean not the kind of reference that we talk in chapter 9 or something like in chapter 9. In chapter 9, actually, Chomsky refers to a person, Jennifer refers to another person, etc., etc. The cat refers to an animal, etc., etc. But here we infer, okay, that, for example, Mr. Kawasaki means a person riding a motorcycle. Or there are other examples here. Suppose that somebody says, can I look at your Chomsky? Can I look at your Chomsky? I'm changing it to something else. Can I look at your Shakespeare? Can I look at your Shakespeare? What does it mean? It means something like this. Can I look at your book written by Chomsky? Or can I look at your book written by Shakespeare? Okay, but you say Chomsky. What does it mean? It means, or Shakespeare. What does it mean? It means that you're inferring the meaning out of it. Or suppose that, there's another example. Jennifer, line below it. Okay, Jennifer is wearing Calvin Klein. What is Calvin Klein? Calvin Klein is a special brand of malabis. Okay, malabis. A special brand of clothes, okay? So when you say she's wearing Calvin Klein, doesn't mean that that person is wearing a brand name. It means a brand name with a kind of clothes made by Calvin Klein. Okay? So it's like this. Now, there are other examples below the last two lines of this page. It's page 153. Okay, look. We saw Shakespeare in London. What does it mean? We saw the play written by Shakespeare in the city of London. Or when we say Mozart was playing in the background. What does it mean? Mozart is the name of a musician. Okay? Mozart. And the pronunciation is like this. Mozart, okay, was playing in the background. Okay, what does it mean? A kind of play, a kind of music composed by Mozart was playing in the background. And the last example, the bride wore Giorgio Armani. So what does it mean? Giorgio Armani is a brand, I suppose, Italian brand of, in fact, dresses. So the bride wore a kind of wedding dress made by this company. Okay. Well, so far, so good. Let us go to talk about anaphora. Anaphora. Well, what is anaphora? Anaphora is something like this. We usually make a distinction between how we introduce line 1, new reference, a puppy, and how we refer back to them, the puppy, it. Look at this example. Puppy is a kind of dog, of course. How will we refer in pragmatics to these types of things? Let's see. The first time you say a puppy with a. The second time you use the instead of a. Okay? Why? In the context, it's like this. Why? First, we do not know it. We say a puppy. Later in our text, we know that we already have used it. Instead of a puppy, we say the puppy. Or line 3, it. Okay, let us read this line. We saw a funny home video about a boy washing a puppy in a small bath. Okay. Now, let's see. We have used the word a puppy. The puppy started, because it's the second time we use the word the, started struggling and shaking, and the boy got really wet. Now we have used the word the puppy. Okay? It's time to use, again, either the puppy or something like it. Why? Because now we know it. When he let go, it jumped out of the bath and ran away. Okay? This is the way with, in fact, anaphora. Okay? What are anaphora? Anaphoras are like these words, like it or the puppy, which refer back to a puppy. The puppy refers to a puppy. Or it refers to the puppy. Okay? So where do we have the pronoun? Generally, we have the pronoun after the antecedent. The puppy is the antecedent, and it refers back to that antecedent. Okay? Generally, this is the case that when we use a pronoun, ضمير, okay, we refer back to something in the text, in the context, which is something like the puppy. Okay? So let's call this type of relation where we have we are referring back to something as anaphora. Okay? Now the question is it the case that all the time we have anaphoric relation where we refer back to something? We say no. Sometimes we refer forward. Okay? Refer forward. So if we refer forward, we say we are referring a cataphor. We call this as a cataphoric relation, and the kind of a relation is a cataphora. Okay? Cataphoric, cataphora. Do we have examples like this? Yes. Look at this example. At the beginning of something like, let's say, a documentary, at the beginning of a short story, at the beginning of an anecdote, at the beginning of a story, it is something like this. First we say, it suddenly appeared on the path. It suddenly appeared on the path a little ahead of me, staring in my direction, and sniffing the air. Okay, we are talking about some animal. We are talking about some animal. But we have used it. Why? We want to, in fact, pay careful attention to the name, to this animal. But what is this animal? It suddenly appeared on the path a little ahead of me, staring in my direction and sniffing the air. Look, at the end we say an enormous grizzly bear was checking me out. An enormous, a very big grizzly bear. Bear is a dub. Grizzly bear is some, I think you call it a grizzly bear, okay, because it is a North American. The very big dub in Arabic, in English is called a grizzly bear. You can search it through the internet, go to images and in fact type the word grizzly bear. You can find that this is a very big kind of dub. Okay, so now back to the text. So normally we first of all say an enormous grizzly bear, and after that we say it. But sometimes we have cataphoric relation. What does it mean? First we use the pronoun, and after that we use something like a grizzly bear. Okay? So we call these types of relations as anaphoric relations or anaphora, and cataphoric relation as a cataphora. Okay? Now, there are other examples of these two types of anaphoric relations. Number one, we found a house to rent. Look at the word, the house. But the kitchen was very small. Again, we see an anaphoric relation. A house and the kitchen of the house, part of that house. We found a house to rent, but the kitchen was very small. We actually want a big kitchen, actually. The kitchen must be not so small. So, look at here. First we have a house. Next we have the kitchen, which refers to part of the house. Sometimes we have anaphoric relation in the form of a house and the kitchen, where the house is bigger and the kitchen is smaller and part of that bigger kind of thing. Okay, this is line 1 and type 1. There's another one. I got on a bus, okay, and asked the driver if it went near the downtown area. Look, the driver and the bus. Anaphoric, yes. How? Because a bus needs a bus driver, and the bus driver is part of a big bus. So we say sometimes antecedents and anaphoric experiences often are based on, in fact, inference. So the driver means the driver of the bus. And the kitchen is the kitchen of the house. How do we understand? Through inference. Okay, we infer. Okay, these are other examples, and I suppose there are good examples there. Look at here. The victim was shot. Okay, just look at this example. The victim was shot, okay, but the gun was never recovered. Okay, again we understand the gun is related to the shooting, okay, related to the shooting through the inference that we have, okay. So this is the end of this discussion on anaphora. I'm going to, in fact, review it once more. Anaphoric relations is something like this. We have got two things in the text. One is antecedent, the other is anaphora. One is antecedent, the other is anaphora. Normally, first we have an antecedent, like John, Mary, the puppy, the boy, etc. And after that we have anaphora, like he, it, and the bath. Okay? So this is type 1, and type 2 is the opposite. It means that we have two things at the same time, but in a reverse order. First we have a cataphora, a cataphoric relation, and we wait to find in the text what is there. I told you that the second type is actually found in a special kind of, in fact, text, in a special kind of text, which is a text of literature, okay, something like a novel, something like, let's say, the beginning of a novel, the beginning of a short story, the beginning of, let's say, other things as well, or the beginning of a documentary, okay, as I told you. These are examples of cataphoric relations, which are also important. Okay, so remember, why do they use? Writers sometimes used cataphoric relations in order to, in fact, wait for you, in fact, make you sensitive to what they want to say. You want to continue, so they use the word suspense here. They put you in suspense, okay, because they want to, in fact, in the movies again, we have this kind of thing as suspense. At the beginning you don't know the character. You just wait for the character to understand what it means through the movie, through this film series, okay, to understand. So they use the cataphoric relations. Thank you very much. I stopped at the end of the cataphoric relations, and I'm gonna talk about presupposition in my next presentation. Thank you very much.